Hey there, hikers. Once again, you're with Dreamer and Sloth, and we're doing another interview today. We got a pretty decent day for December. We're here today with the president of the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, Laura Finch. So this is Laura, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about her background and where she's from and how she got involved with the Scenic Trails Association.
So I live in Hillsboro, West Virginia with my dog Shiloh, and I've been living there coming up on 5 years, and I guess it was about, well, nearly 2 years ago I decided that I would hike the Allegheny Trail, and I sought information about the trail and learned that the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association maintains the trail and is seeking to complete the trail. And so I became involved then with the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, and I was asked to be president about a year ago, and so I became president of the organization in June.
Okay, very good. I know you kind of coordinate a lot with the trail maintenance supervisors and things like that. We know that it's easy to complain about the trail, but when you look at how much work goes into keeping the trees out and keeping the treads up and putting the signage and postage and the blazes and all that, it's a big job and it needs somebody to coordinate
Shiloh,
things.
no name.
Hey.
Shiloh, no name. Yeah, I wouldn't engage with her over 6.
So, you kind of organize a lot of stuff, and involved with that, there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, bureaucracy when you're dealing with the Forest Service, the government, and there's things that you have to do to make sure you're in line with their regulations. So, if you can tell us a little bit about the short-term goals that you're going to be doing over the next year or so.
So there are things that we can do to help maintain the Allegheny Trail that we don't need to ask permission for. And those just involve clearing the trail with certified sawyers, clearing brush off the trail, improving the tread on the trail. You know, the trail is coming up on 50 years old, and so there are areas that were actually, they were formerly Forest Service trails for other purposes, and the Allegheny Trail just follows those old trails, and so, you know, at least 50 years, some of these areas haven't had any what we call tread work to beat the dirt into a more walkable path. And so that generally we can all do without permission. What we can't do without permission is affect waterways in any sense. So like where you see really wet areas, it's difficult for us to sometimes get permission to put turnpikes or things like that. Things that would make the path more walkable but would affect the waterway. We can't do major tread work projects without permission. And we can't make a new trail in any sense, whether it's a reroute or whatever, without permission. And so we seek permission from the Forest Service to improve the trail in those types of ways. Things like bridges. We're hoping to, we've received some nice donations here in the last couple of years, and we're hoping to put a bridge at Brushy Creek, or Brush Run, which is just south of Durban, about 5 miles, something like that.
Right. On
the trail. So we're hoping to, and you probably remember that crossing. It wasn't very fun, right? You're pretty much going to get your shoes wet on that crossing. So.
Right. We hit that at low water, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But another thing, a lot of the, especially in the northern section there, you got a lot of private land, and you're trying to deal with that. Some places you have permission to go across private land, and there's a lot of road walking, so there's a lot of challenges there you have. And you were talking about, and earlier you were talking about some shelters that may be added, and some things in Canaan Valley. Is there any details you can give us over that?
So one thing that we're in the process of getting permission to do is work on the Canaan Mountain Shelter, which is what we call the shelter there at the intersection of Plantation Trail in the Canaan Backcountry and the Allegheny Trail. We're going to be actually jacking that up to shore up the foundation there. And then we're hoping to add a backcountry campsite just a little bit south of there along the trail in Canaan Valley State Park. We recently worked on a primitive campsite in the Jenningston area for a private landowner who's going to be allowing backpackers to stay there, and it's at what's called the Laurel River Club. But yeah, north of there, definitely there's some challenges as far as camping. I would say that before you get to Blackwater Falls State Park and hike up to the Forest Service property where Canadian Mountain Shelter is, there's not a whole lot of camping opportunities, but if you're pretty strategic and you're a fairly strong hiker, you can get through Section 1 without having to necessarily ask permission to camp. There is a church at about milepost 14, 15. There is a private campground about milepost 28, if I'm not mistaken, and then when you get over to about 43, there's a private landowner that'll allow you to camp. From that point on, you're nearly to Forest Service. So if you're a strong hiker, and was not my experience. I'm not, I don't bang out the miles like some of our members do. So I did ask to camp at people's homes in Section 1 because there's not a lot of traffic on the Allegheny Trail. Some people, like has been your experience, don't know, necessarily what's going on.
Right.
But it's just an opportunity to share with them what it is that you're doing. And I think the value in long distance hiking is kind of the change in your mindset that you're able to experience. And so, it's whenever you have the opportunity to share with somebody what long distance hiking is about, I think that's a blessing for both of you. So.
Right. And as far as Section 1 is concerned, I guess the best thing to do is make sure you've got a plan. Try to look at what's available and try to start at a reasonable time so you can get your miles out, and allow a little leeway and try to plan your routes, because there are sections on there. There's campgrounds and there is some place where you have permission, but if you do that, you can. Most people will be able to get through, so that's good.
Yeah, my experience was that I was not able to hike nearly as many miles on those gravel roads in Preston County as I am able to hike in the Cranberry Wilderness, for example, which was kind of the context that I came to the Allegheny Trail with. And so, whereas I could, bang out 15 miles pretty easy in Cranberry, 15 miles on gravel roads in Preston County, I didn't have the same experience. So what I came away from my hike through Preston County, which took I might be lying if I said 8 days, it might have been 9 days, was that you can be so overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers, and if that's the lesson that people are learning from the Allegheny Trail, that's really great. On the other hand, some people can get through those 80 miles, 70 miles in no time, so
Right.
Good for them, and hopefully I'll improve my time the next time I hike the Allegheny Trail. I hiked it in sections. I intended to hike the whole thing and spent about 18 days on the trail in September of 2019, and then I spent another 8 days on the trail in September of 2020 and kind of filled in the weekends otherwise. So I've hiked the whole trail with the exception of the gap.
Right. Well, you've got some hands-on experience there, which is good for somebody in charge of the Scenic Trails Association.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Right.
That everybody that's making important decisions about where the trail is going has enough experience to say, where the problem spots are and where we need to be working on. And that's what we kind of endeavored to do this year, is to make a plan based on what we know and the conditions that are there, and see if we can't really address some of the more problem areas and start being able to shift our focus to things that are really going to improve the trail, as opposed to just kind of recover it from being in a bad spot. Yeah.
And I know every year you have these freak windstorms and things that result with blowdowns in areas. We were just up the last time we went north. We saw one swath. It wasn't on the trail, but it was just trees laid out. It looked like a hurricane had come through and just laid the trees out. And sometimes that just pops up and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, fortunately, we've got a good number of sawyers at this point certified. Comparable volunteer groups have trouble getting certified sawyers, but we've got a lot of good people on our team, and so as new people come in, they can just kind of learn some of the brushing skills and some of the tread work skills, and then hopefully we're well equipped to deal with things that come up. But importantly, if we don't know about it, we can't fix it. So while we're definitely endeavoring to have our eyes and ears on the trail once a year. If people know about conditions, they should let us know on the website.
That's good. So the website is out there. You can they have a way to contact them through there. If you have any concerns or anything about the trail, just let them know on that. All right. Now, as far as the long-term goals, I mean, I don't think the Allegheny Trail will ever be anything like the Appalachian Trail as far as the volume of hikers, and it's a different experience. I know a lot of people on the Appalachian Trail, they're looking for the social aspect of hiking, where you're kind of leapfrogging hikers every day and you kind of camp at the same area. But like we've mentioned before, when Dreama and I were on here, we saw 2 other people that were actually backpacking and spending the night out the whole time we were on the trail. So do you mean to change that, or is that?
I think that's one of the assets of the Allegheny Trail, really, is that, and I had the same experience. I saw some mountain bikers when I was section hiking. I saw someone who was also section hiking, but they weren't actively backpacking at the time that I ran into them. But this last stretch that I did, which was the 8 days from Cass to I-64, I saw no backpackers. I saw folks on the river trail, on the Greenbrier River Trail, but saw no backpackers. I just think that solitude that you experience, that's really what helps you to kind of change your state of mind.
Right.
I think that's really an asset of the Allegheny Trail.
Yeah, if you're looking for that lonely experience to get out there and get away from it all, you got a lot better chance on the Allegheny Trail than you do on the Appalachian Trail, even in the summertime.
But I do hope that we're able to show that there's some economic advantages to, completing the Allegheny Trail, that having a long trail that's completed, that goes all the way from the Appalachian Trail to Pennsylvania, is going to involve positive economic impacts in the area, and that we can therefore get funding that's going to help to complete the trail. Right. So, I think that we're trying to strike a balance between promoting the trail for people who are really serious backpackers who are going to take care of it, not and leave no trace, and then we don't want to keep it for ourselves. It's
Right.
just such an amazing thing that you want as many people to experience it that are going to appreciate it as possible.
And one of the things that we have noticed when we start out, we start at the southern end, of course, and you're doing a ridge walk mostly for the first 12 or 16 miles, something like that. But the terrain becomes so diverse. You're at different elevation levels, and when you get up there north of Durban, you get into areas that almost look like a rainforest. And there's a variety of things that people can experience while staying on the same trail.
Yeah, it's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Even
good.
just right here, so we're here at the bridge at Anthony Creek, just south of the Bear Branch trailhead. And as you hike on up this mountain here, which is called Meadow Creek Mountain, you go through several environments, just even on the climb up. And on some of these mountains, there's just this kind of arid, brushy kind of pine forest that occupies the middle of the change in elevation. And I just think it's so cool that you're hiking through 3 different environments just in the same afternoon. So yeah, you get a lot of changes in the area that you're talking about. Maybe with the red spruce up on Shavers Mountain, it's just such a magical area. And another that I think of is, and it's man-made, but the pines that are down on near the Graham Shelter. That plantation of pines is just so cool. And I had hiked from Cass all the way down there and came into this plantation of perfectly rowed pines, and I just thought I was overwhelmed with how beautiful it was, even though it was a man-made type of situation. Yeah.
We were there on a day like this where the sunlight was streaming down and you get all these shadows.
Stunning.
It gave a great effect. All right. Well, we appreciate your time and filling us in on the goals, and we appreciate you being the president and volunteering your effort and energy to the Allegheny Trail.
If you would like to volunteer with the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association, would like to purchase a guide of the Allegheny Trail, or want more information, you can go to www.wvscenictrails.org.